Hi everyone, this is Ellen Marie Francisco. Thanks for coming into my channel. We're going to do some tarot. We're going to look at January 2026 and what kind of energies are moving through us and towards us and around us. And as always, I want to ask, what do we need to know? January Judgment card. She's coming in first and foremost. Got the King of Cups crossing us. If this is our center card this month for January 2026, blow my mind, here we go, then where are your judgments? A lot of times we have judgments so that we can change them, so that we're not, hell-bent on writing some kind of non-reality as a reality and running amok across the landscapes. So judgment card ties into with a lot of the higher realms, other realms, and the afterlife, and moving through the things that we're judged on. This could also be symbolic of a lot of religious beliefs crumbling under the true introspection. I almost feel like there's a lot of church energy with this month. I'm also seeing, so the righteousness, the condemnation, the kinds of things that come from people who judge too harshly. The collective could be very harsh in January. It could look bleak, especially if you don't have the right frame of mind. We did have last month a lot of that Ten of Sword energy sort of hitting us. I remember feeling like if you didn't have the right attitude inside your headspace, that it could be a very difficult time because you could take yourself down with wrong thoughts. The Judgment card isn't too far off that map actually either, and with it could come this whole existential crisis at the same time, with you wondering why you're not doing better, or why you're not this, or why you're not that, or maybe you're doing it wrong. So there could be a lot of self-flagellation in January that we'd have to kind of be aware of, on the downside. As far as what else can happen with this card, if you're tied into the celestials, if you're tied into any of the invisible beings that can help you, there can be a lot of help under this kind of a cycle too, where more comes through for you. So don't prejudge, I guess, is also what I'm hearing. Don't prejudge too much. It's true, sometimes we just get a little bit of a tunnel vision if we're judging too much or assuming too many things, and then we tie in expectations, and then suddenly before you know it, you're rushing ahead and spirit hasn't even, doled out what the real possibilities are yet. And anyway, I do keep feeling and hearing that you can't be too hard on yourself. You've got to cut yourself some slack. There's got to be ways that you can just forgive yourself before you have to, so you're not carrying any negative emotional burden. And let's not forget that Mr. Cool Cat over here, who's like, or maybe I should call him Mr. Stormy Waters over here, crossing our judgment, So it could be that with this kind of tumultuous water underneath, or anything unresolved emotionally, could really be capsizing our mental state in January if we're not careful to keep it clean and keep it balanced. From the higher perspective, we also may be caring more about, what does this really mean? I mean, if people are having the spiritual awakenings, and I believe they are, I've been witnessing it and projecting into the future and seeing it, there's usually some kind of emotional settling that has to happen anyway. And yeah, so this could be our request in a way to surrender judgment, capsize the things that aren't yours, essentially. Capsize the ideas, capsize your judgments, capsize your ideas of what's going to come next. Expect the unexpected. That's kind of what this energy feels like to me, coupled together. And there is a sense of I really do feel a very big sense of existentialism for some reason. So it could be because people I think yeah, it's partly having to do with some of the third eye stuff I saw earlier. Because we're seeing more, we just have access to more. And that's going to change a lot of how we feel about everything, really. So don't be too harsh to judge at all for the whole month of January, at the beginning of January 2026. Not worth it. You'll be sad. You'll be sad if you overjudge because sometimes we eat our words. With the Page of Wands underneath us in our support position, Ace of Swords, Three of Pentacles, Knight of Swords in our doorway, Four of Cups in the first card. Ha! The Sun, Ace of Cups, the Hermit. Let's take a look here. I'm going to do an overview. Let's go back to the Judgment card. We are the Judgment card, our collective is coming in with this energy. We're being crossed with the King of Cups, so, we do have a lot to work through emotionally. We're going to be hitting, so it could be a lot of water, could be alcoholism, could be emotional turmoil, could be emotional maturity. It depends on who's playing along and who's coming in for the ride. The Page of Wands is underneath us. Like I felt earlier, this does have a lot to do with just grounding in our power, willing to work with our power from a grounded state instead of doubting it, just assuming it's there. That is one thing that wouldn't hurt to judge, is that you do have grounded power, through your own energetic system, and you can call on that as your baseline. I love the symbolism in this card with the magnifying glass and the long stem. It's like spinal column, third eye spinal column. There you go. Feed yourself with the knowledge from the universe that's coming in from the higher realms to bless you with. And I guess that's the other thing too. I'm feeling our higher selves in this card too, that lacks judgment. It's our lower self that jumps into those realms of measuring things. So just leave it alone, I guess. Leave it alone. Leave alone the measuring stick this month. And the weight. Yeah, leave alone. Okay, they're saying leave alone the scales. Leave alone the yardsticks. Yeah, don't measure anything in January. Although they're saying at some point we'll be measuring our emotional our emotional resonance too, for holding resonance in our own temple resonance. And if we have a baseline, oh yeah, so this can sometimes talk as well about vulnerability. I don't know if I'd say they're totally new beginnings, but sometimes if you're emotionally vulnerable enough, hey, you can find new strengths and powers in working with that energy this month. With the Page of Wands underneath us, this can sometimes be our inner child. It can be our children. It can be any kind of child-like endeavor. It is shrouded with the colors of the chakras, the first chakra and the power center, the solar plexus. So if this is sitting underneath us, we're being asked to bring in our spiritual power. And with the ace over here, upside down, I think a lot of us debate over whether we're going to grab our power or not, or our God-given talents, or work with our ideas. Sometimes we keep them to ourselves under wraps. Sometimes we don't want them to be too far forward in the foreground. Also, with the Ace of Swords, this is also can be communication and talking more, having ideas. If you're holding yourself devoid of judgments, then anything, you can expect anything, the unexpected for sure. Anything is possible. With this kind of energy, everything is possible and anything is possible. Sometimes you just have to harness the energy. So if all you have to do is let some of your judgments go to have access to all this energy with the Ace of Swords and the new beginning of that can bring in the brainstorming and the whole resurrection of, open-minded thoughts that you could have for yourself too. Sometimes we're like, no, I'm never going to go into that kind of a career. Or, it's kind of, I feel like we're going to be facing some of our never say never kind of energies. There may be things that, you just never would have thought you'd do. And suddenly here you go, brainstorming through great ideas, or the infusion and the influx of God force energy in your life, your allowance of that energy to work through you and propagate into something new and better is also a very good possibility here. With the Three of Pentacles hanging over our head, this could be community money. This could be all kinds of support financially from your own inner community, parents, siblings, who knows, that stuff like that. You could be applying for loans and getting things underway. With the Three of Pentacles hanging over our head, then we would be, there would be, there's like, I don't know, there's a lot of talk about community money, whatever that means, on a local level, on a federal level, on a national thing. It could be budget talks, you could be, I feel like financially it feels a little wonky. So we may be trying to stretch our resources or figure out how to get other monies for other things, or so I think we're going to kind of readdress some of the financial, and that's kind of what I'm seeing in this card. Oh, and also, there may be a sense of generosity too that comes towards you as well. Sometimes, there could be things that are coming in as gifts as well. I mean, even after the holiday kind of thing. It's like gifts or blessings in some way are coming in through financially. Let's see what else. With the doorway, with the Knight of Swords coming in like this. Could be quick changes, impulsive, hear something, you have new information, and then you just switch and move through something very quickly. You could be taking action on something that's been brewing underneath the surface for a while. Could be a sign that you're willing to go with the flow. If something suddenly takes you in a new direction, you may actually just roll with it and not worry about it at all. Knight of Swords brings us into, like I felt earlier, some quick change. I don't know, I changed my mind. You could be going along, going along, going along, going along. Suddenly you get new information, everything changes, and now you're going along another way. This ace could be part of the culprit. Because, if you have ideas and thoughts and things that you've never thought of, or suddenly you have the biggest aha moment, I mean, this could be very liberating. This could be very, very, very liberating and directing. It could just, be inevitable. Okay, well, this is the way I'm going to go. So for anybody who was waiting for clarity on what to do, this ace is kind of hinting that sometimes the waiting is going to pay off. So if it doesn't feel right to take movement or start things, even though it's the beginning of the year, everybody wants to do that. Just hold back if it doesn't fully feel right. If you're getting lost in fear, then maybe just talk yourself off the cliff there with what the fear might or might not be about. But keep your ideas moving forward, I guess, is how I'm seeing that. Sometimes, these cards, these swords can have a lot of gossip around them. They can also have a lot of pent up words that didn't get said, or you didn't have an opportunity to say, and suddenly everything's coming out. Because you know what? Sometimes when you do have those aha moments, you're like, now I really know what I'm doing. Now I can talk about it. Now So you could be talking out loud quite a bit about things that you've kept under wraps too for a while, for whatever reason too. I just feel like a lot of things are just coming out into the open, not because they're bad, but just because it's just, no need to keep them secret kind of deal. So let's talk about the Four Cups. The Four Cups here is giving us some sense that we need a little bit of emotional respite. This is an emotional card to begin with. Over here is our crossing, our covering card. So it could be a tumultuous month emotionally if we do not take our time, like in the doorway to our future could be some quick change. And yet, how are we managing the change? Through our own self-love and our own boundaries and our own sense of what we need for ourselves. The sun coming right afterwards just tells me that we're right along, right on time for the spiritual awakening that I've been seeing. You can have more than one spiritual awakening in your life. It just because you're sort of awakened now doesn't mean you're not going to be awakened to way, way, way more. And sometimes it's the senses, our sentient being, that becomes more sensitive to these energies. And then all the other bodies, our mental body has to adjust to the new thoughts and paradigms of belief that come with this choice and change. The spiritual awakening sun card, I mean, wow, we're all getting hit with that a lot in this last year and moving into this year. I guess what I'm seeing is the demands in a way from spirit, and I'm feeling like the judgment card ties into this, and this is part of why we came in as a collective with the judgment card, because when you start dabbling in the invisible world and you start to see how the energies of the universe really work and how they feed you when you're feeding you and how they, pale off when you abandon you and all the rest of it. And you can feel the love of loved ones, a whisper away from you. You start to build a little bit of your own proof in the pudding reality, and you start to build on the confidence and the truth of your own personal experiences, and all the other stuff that didn't make sense before, or didn't really add up, but you didn't really question, starts to dissolve. And when I feel into this energy, I feel like that's around religions, indoctrinated religions, where there's a middleman between you and your own God force, which is ludicrous. I mean, wow. So we're doing a little bit more direct, it's more of a direct plug in when you start to awaken to how it really is going on in the universe. You understand that you must be connected to your higher self and all the other parts of you that are of the maker. And tied into your own, life force energy, your own base life force energy that feeds you in all possible ways energetically. So you see that there's two aces here. There's the Ace of Swords over here that we're, dealing with in the right now, here and now kind of time frame. And then we've got this ace over here that's just beyond our doorway to the future, our gateway here. These are the four cards that kind of tell us how else everything's going to go. We do end up with the Hermit card. So what does that tell you? If we're starting the first card in of our doorway to the future with some emotional reserve or some step back or some emotional healing, it could be just emotional processing. It also does hint at a foundation of emotional protection too. So if you've been taking good care of yourself and you're kind of your own best friend, you're probably going to go through this cycle pretty well, because spirit will match the kind of help that you've been giving yourself, and you won't feel so depleted. You won't feel so left out in the cold. But the sun it's hitting us, third eye. I can see it just bam, right through the concepts and ideas and visions for our own future. Total upgrade, mass consciousness upgrade. And then of course we have the Ace of Cups coming right after all of this explosive new available awarenesses. It does take sometimes a while to integrate some of this new energy, and you may still need to do lots of napping or, roadside sleeping, safe roadside sleeping or something. I don't know why I heard them say that, but maybe lots of road trips Yeah, in the warmer places, I don't know. Anyway, so the Ace of Cups as well. I mean, it really is this omni forever universe. You can call back your own life force from all the places you've left it with this kind of energy. When you have this kind of awareness, you sort of break through all of that surface chatter that doesn't really mean anything and doesn't really say anything. And then you sort of just make that true connection. You're willing to open up to it and feed yourself from it. It makes a huge difference in your ability to thrive and your ability to feel your own purpose and your own direction. And it's a great thing to tune into. So the Ace of Cups afterwards is also a new beginning. You can bring in God force, create. You can create through your sacral chakra and really bring in a lot of abundance for yourself as far as possibility, abundant possibility that you could direct through your love of life and your love of whatever this is, and your ability to welcome the light of the universe essentially is part of this too. If you're getting hit with a bit of an awakening, then you would be bringing things into your crown chakra. You would be working with the energy of the crown chakra more profoundly, and you may have more things coming together in your own world quickly. There's a sense of creation. And with the Hermit, every man's an island, and sometimes you need one to recover from or recover in or around. If you're in recovery, I feel like people are trying to be in recovery of a lot of things at the beginning of the year here. So if you feel like you need to pull off and be away from everything and ride your own tides in a way and surf your own surf, then I wouldn't be surprised. I wonder what is going on with some of the water signs too, and planets, Pisces. I wonder what's going on with Pisces. I kind of feel that water conducting energy, conducting spirituality flow, and a lot of God flow. So this is still a really spiritual reading. So a lot, I feel, of people are getting used to their new sensitivities, their heightened awarenesses. And with the Hermit, you can pull back and be a little more introspective and not really worry about too much with this energy, because you're tuned in. If we're ending as the Hermit, starting as Judgment, we've already had a massive amount of spiritual growth in 2025 that we're launching into 2026 with a deeper sense of peace, or I'm feeling like it's a lot of acceptance too, a whole lot of acceptance coming in for ourselves, and understanding, patience and understanding. If we have that more for ourselves, think about, we give the world what we give ourselves. So if we're depleted, we're going to show up depleted. If we're whole, we're going to show up whole, and we're going to know when to stop before we're depleted. We're going to know how to regenerate our life force so that we can, get juiced up for the mission at hand, which is like, sovereign you, divine sovereign you. That's what that is. Funny that our final card for January, the first month of 2026, is actually a 9. It's like completion, a sense of completion. So yeah, and some beginnings overlap our endings, and our endings overlap our beginnings. So whatever sense yours is for the new year, I feel like we're filling our cups more than we're depleting them, because we got wise to what needs to happen or what we need for ourselves. So it looks like January is starting off with some vulnerable emotional growth and a side of increased spirituality, consciousness, and awareness. And it doesn't feel like massively heart heavy January. It just feels like tuned in, like like a commitment to be tuned in instead of tuned out. That's a good way to start. So that's for January 2026. Thanks for coming into my channel. I hope that you get a good start yourself and believe in yourself. And I hope you've built a good foundation as well, where you can have faith in your abilities to read the energies internally and read the energies around you. Once you learn how to use these energies, they really don't fail you. And you can springboard in amazing possible ways forward without hardly any effort at all, and certainly happy tears, not sad tears. So have a beautiful new beginning to your new year, and we'll see you all the way through as we go through the months, growing and evolving through everything. Have a great time out there. Thanks for coming in. Bye for now.